Hey guys, this is Holden. So today I'm just going to be talking about some experiences that I've had and just sort of share my feelings and my thoughts about it. So something that happens to me sometimes when I'm doing a production, I don't normally talk about this because I just kind of process it myself. I talk to friends about it. But as a trans person, people feel like they have the right to say things to you that they wouldn't say to their cisgender colleagues. And especially because I'm really open about talking about myself, talking about trans stuff, answering questions. People feel like they can ask me things at inappropriate times, or just say comments that they think are funny when it actually just makes me uncomfortable. And they don't know they're doing it. Sometimes I'm able to call them out, but a lot of the time, in a professional context, it doesn't actually make me look any better to call them out. And sometimes I have to suck it up. I don't like it, and I try to call people out when I can. But it's not always possible. So let me just share a couple of things with you that people have said to me in a professional environment that I find inappropriate. And other trans people probably get in other lines of work as well, not just theater. So I was waiting backstage during a production. I was in the chorus and just waiting to go on stage. I had my costume on, everything was good, just watching. And a colleague that I hadn't really talked to much up to this point, we'd said hello and whatever, he came up to me and he said, is it true that you were a woman? And if you've watched any of my other videos or read articles or even have a trans friend, you know that that's trans 101, that you don't say things like, oh, were you a woman? Because even though that is how I identified, and I'm open about saying that I did identify as a woman, most trans people don't say that. And you can't assume that someone's okay with you saying that. He wasn't thinking about any of that. He was just being totally thoughtless. But he asked, is it true you're a woman? And I sort of didn't respond at first because, one, we're not supposed to be talking backstage at all. And two, it was really inappropriate and awkward. So I sort of was like, yeah, and kept watching. And then he started trying to talk to me about my vocal transition and physical transition, saying stuff like, oh, I never would have known, and all that stuff. And there's only so much you can do when you're backstage and you're not supposed to be talking at all. I can only be so graceful. I did my best, and it was fine. But if you're in a theater, if you have a trans colleague in a theater, or in an opera house more specifically, don't ask them things backstage, please. Learn from my colleague's mistake in this video. If you want to talk to them, first get to know them. Maybe they don't want to talk about this at work at all. Maybe they're not out to other people, and you've just heard something from someone else. They might not want to talk about it. So try to get to know them first before you ask really personal questions. Even if you're really curious, it's not your right to know those things. Some other things that people have said to me during productions are all, I'd like to say all in good fun, but it's not fun for me. People make jokes because they know that I'm trans and they want to connect to me somehow, I think. So I know I can't be angry at them, but it doesn't stop me from feeling dysphoric and feeling really sad. For example, I'll have colleagues sometimes who joke about something I'm doing on stage that's really feminine. That happens a lot because a lot of the characters I play are really flamboyant or really feminine, or a little bit weird. They do something a little bit off, or the director wants something a little bit off, and so they make a joke about either me having been a woman, or they make a joke about something really inappropriate, like vaginas. That's happened before. And it's it just makes me feel dysphoric. There's nothing else I can say. And you wouldn't necessarily say that to a cisgender colleague, let alone a trans one. But like I said, for some reason people feel that they can talk to trans people this way. And I think, like I said, especially because I'm very open about it. But that doesn't stop it from hurting. One thing that is quite a tender spot for me personally, I'm going to make another video about this to talk more specifically about practical solutions for it, but one thing that really bothers me is when people comment on my feet or my shoes, because I have a size 37 European, which is a 5'7" in women's shoes in the US, which doesn't exist in men's sizes. It only exists in women's sizes and children's sizes. So I only can buy children's shoes or women's shoes, which is fine with me. Like I said, I'll make another video about it. It's fine with me because shoes are shoes, and if they look good, it doesn't matter. But when I'm in a theater production, I always have a fair amount of dysphoria when I go to the costume department, because I know that they're not going to have men's shoes that they need in my size. So they're going to either have to special order something, which I know is annoying for them, or they're going to have to find the female version of it. So one thing that really bothers me is that when I go to the costume department in the theater, I don't normally get to have men's shoes because the men's shoes don't come in my size. So the only time I get to have the correct shoes for the production are if it's a gender-neutral shoe where all the women and the men are wearing similar shoes. Like sometimes it happens with certain boots that are pretty common, and then it's fine. And if it's a certain kind of boot, then even if it's a size too big for me, I can still wear it pretty comfortably, as long as there's not too much dancing or something. But I always get really dysphoric when I go to the costume department, because I know it's going to be annoying for them, and I'm going to be, even though I can't do anything about it, I'm going to have to be extra charming, and I'm going to have to explain that my feet are just really small, and that they're going to have to find a solution. If they're good to costume department, it doesn't really matter, but if it's for a really small production, then I'm going to have to wear shoes that are too big for me, or I'm going to have to wear my own shoes, which I actually prefer, but that means that I have to buy shoes for myself for productions, or I have to wear out my everyday shoes, which I don't like doing because I don't have that many shoes, because my feet are small and it's hard to find shoes. You get the idea? In a recent production I was doing, I had several colleagues, comment on the fact that I was wearing female shoes, women's shoes, they said. And the costume designer doesn't care, and the costume designer was really sweet about it. Was just like, okay, well, your feet are small, so we'll find some women's shoes that are in a similar style to the shoes that I want you to be in. And the costume designer wanted me to be in heels anyway. So I was like, great, that's fine. We found a solution. I took it on the stage, and two of my colleagues said, "You're wearing women's shoes, that's weird." And I was like, okay. And one of them made a joke that my character is maybe intersex or something. And I was like, that's not really funny. I didn't say anything. I was already feeling dysphoric, and many people were commenting on my shoes because first of all, I'm wearing heels, which is appropriate to my character, but because I'm trans, I was then a target for them picking on me for wearing women's shoes, which I can't help. I literally don't have a choice of wearing men's shoes. If I go into a store, I can only wear women's shoes or children's shoes. My general advice for this kind of stuff if you are the trans person, try to talk to them if you can, if you feel it's appropriate. If you can't talk to that specific person, if you feel constantly targeted, talk to the assistant director or someone in a position who's able to sort of liaison. With the costume department, just let them know beforehand, like early enough, like, hey, I have a weird shoe size, you might need to order me some special shoes. I apologize for the inconvenience, even though it's not your fault. If you are a cisgender colleague of a trans person in theater, don't say anything about their shoe size, please, and don't say anything like they're wearing women's clothing or wearing women's shoes. It's really dysphoric, or vice versa. If there's a trans woman, don't say something about them having male shoes or something. It's really impolite and will make that trans person's day really dysphoric. One thing I'd also like to add is that whether you're a cisgender or a transgender person, you shouldn't comment on people's bodies. It's not polite. The same thing happens to fat bodies or old bodies or female bodies, cisgender female bodies. Just don't do it. Stop commenting on people's bodies. It's not appropriate. Ever. And if you want to talk to a trans person about them being trans or about their body or something, be friends with them first. Don't go up to a stranger and start talking to them about this stuff or making jokes. Just leave it. You don't need to comment on their body to show that you know that they're trans or something. You don't need to do anything because they're just a human being. Just leave them alone. You know? So, just some food for thought. I think that really goes for any bodies in the world. I'd love to hear your experiences of working in theaters as a trans person, or I'd love to hear your experiences as a cisgender ally in a theater. Bring me questions, bring me comments, and I'll see you next time. Hi there. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe to my page. Also, if you haven't been to my website, I would go over there and read some of my articles that I've written. I post monthly articles along with these monthly videos. If you want to support me financially, you can head over to my Patreon, which I just launched recently. You can talk to me personally, you can support me, you can talk with other people about topics for the videos and for the articles and anything else that you can think of. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, so go ahead and follow me, and I'll see you next time.